Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning. Awesome, happy Wednesday. I'm sorry for my mustache. Two more days and a wake up, and an apology to America for my lip. It's disgusting. It's affecting my marriage. Opening day tomorrow at 15:10. Anybody going to the Cards game? Pretty cool. You're in an amazing city right now, and tomorrow will be a treat. Just a little bit of roll call so we can warm up together here. How many soldiers do we have in the room with a round of applause? It was like Rudy there for a little bit. All right, sailors, Marines. Yep, gonna get it loud and clear. Guardians? All right, civil servants. And I know that you're gonna probably be airmen too, but airmen? Giddy up. Now, I'm told this is also a young audience, which is extremely cool. So if you're a company grade officer, round of applause. All right, cool. That's the heart of the matter right there, and what a unique opportunity. I'm going to speak from the heart. We'll go to the next slide here real quick. This is the ROE. I'm going to speak, not speech. I'll speak from the heart. It won't be perfect. You'll be able to tell I went to Auburn. You'll be able to tell that, get it out of your system right now if you got something to say against that. Okay, all right. There you are. Now you're done. You'll be able to tell I got a C-130 out of pilot training. There's the bingo right there. So I'll try not to, I'll keep the F-bombs on the inside. I will get into a pace. I might join you guys a little bit right there. My go-to adjective is amazing. Hopefully you'll feel a little bit of passion about what we do. We do as a logistical enterprise. I'm Irish, so I'm not scared to cry in public. You might hear a little emotion in my voice. I definitely get yelly. It'll come from the heart, I promise. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Not just for what you do, but for how you do it. Thank you for inviting me, to this great association. Certainly 41 years of awesome, 41 years of the hardest part of our job in the military. And I don't think this association is rivaled when it comes to your passion for getting after what you do. So thank you. We'll get to a question and answer here in a bit. There's no rules on it, so bring it. I'll try not to be cute. If I can't answer it, I'll say I can't answer it, and we'll go from there. So I actually am encouraging the interaction that comes at the end of this. Thank you. Slide. Who's read the NDS? Who's read Accelerate, Change, or Lose? Okay, those are pretty clear documents in my mind. And part of being me for the last 12 years, I've got 10 years experience in the Pacific, 2 tours in Korea. Anyone done the Peninsula? Round of applause. Certainly, a great tours for me to understand the impact of logistics, and certainly the fusion of how the joint force needs to come together. But 3 jobs, 2 tours in USFK, 3 jobs, 2 tours at PACOM, and then a tour at PACAF too. So I've got a lot of Pacific experience. One thing is clear to me is it's been 3 administrations that defined what our pacing challenge is. There was a pivot to the Pacific under President Obama. There was NDS 1 under President Trump. And now there's NDS 2 under President Biden. So for those of us that have been doing this for a while, it's kind of like, that's 10 years of a pretty clear message and a pretty clear priority. Yet you'll sense some frustration, especially at the end of my talk here, on our ability to quit talking about it and just start getting after it. Okay, and there'll be a personal and professional challenge that's pretty clear. It's not intended to be directed at any individual entity. It's intended to be directed at us as a joint force on the things we need to do to be successful on the battlefield. But this is what my grandfather did. And on the bottom of his patch was "We win or die." And when you're handling the highest level of challenges in the National Defense Strategy, we're going to do that. We're going to fly airplanes till we're dead or they don't work. And the one that's not written here, which should be written here, or until we win. And that's not an or. It is until we win. Because America's peace, prosperity, and prestige is relying on us to get after it. So I realize I'm wearing pajamas up here, and everybody else is wearing uniforms associated with the fix and support. And it takes all of us to get it done. Fly, fix, support. If you're a medic, you do all three. You just fix old people like me instead of airplanes. So what's the equivalent of that in your life? Does that mean we load and unload airplanes by hand because the K-loader's broke? Does that mean we send smoke signals to communicate because the radios are down? What's the equivalent in your life until we win of the depth that you will have to go to ensure that victory? Slide. Strategy, win. Who played high school ball? Any sport? Man, I let my dad down when it came to my athleticism. But we all played for coaches. The best coaches to play for are firm, fair, come from a position of love, and they want to do what? Win. Win, win, win. It's important that we cage our vernacular on winning terms. Nobody is going to care about our plans for the future if we lose tomorrow. I'm sure they're great plans. What's your plan for tomorrow? If you're J2, A2, S2, N2 walked into your office and said, we're starting to get indications and warnings that something's going to go down. Pick your geography. What's your plan? And as I look at the set of issues for my command, kind of rally around these four gaps. Command and control. Can I issue an order? Is it received? Can they execute? Do I know if they executed? Can I assess its effectiveness? Can I go back and get it? Navigation, highly contested. Cyber and space. Regardless of the challenge in the NDS. Will I even be able to navigate? Maneuver under fire. I'll pick at maneuver a little more in depth later. Can I do the things on the ground? This is you all. Can I do the things on the ground to make sure the air peace happens? Can I port? Can I fuel? Can I maintain? Can I support? Can I even put something in the back of the jet that's meaningful to a soldier, sailor, airman, marine, guardian downrange and have it get there in a relevant time and a relevant place that it can make a difference? Tempo. This goes back to fly till you're dead or your plane don't work. You think, who's made fun of air crew because of crew rest? Raise your hand. Okay, that hurts. I'm not looking for, it's like this turned in from, transition from a conference to an intervention. Thank you very much. You think there's crew rest in this? You think my grandfather had crew rests? On the 14th of February, 1945, what he called St. Valentine's Day Massacre, when half the squadron didn't come home and they had to fly the next day? Can we generate the tempo that generates the lethality faster than the enemy or the challenge is doing to us? Gaps, things we need to close. You can't talk about gaps. You have to act about gaps. Approaches, 3 approaches. Can I adjust my tactics, techniques, and procedures to get after what I need to get after? Which is what? Accepting more risk. General Brown says, take more risk. What does it mean? We had an ALS interaction about 2 months ago, and it was awesome. Senior airmen, new staff sergeants, and I asked them to give me an example of what you've accelerated, changed, or something in your life, your professional life, that you've accepted more risk on. All the hands went up. Example. Take more risk. Yes, okay, but that's kind of the question. But that's good. Take more risk. Another hand. Be innovative. Awesome. Example. How many examples did I get? 0! Shame on us. So they got homework that night. And whether they were in the contracting squadron, the maintenance squadron, the CE squadron, there were TAC Ps in the room, port dogs. There was even, all right, port dogs, get it out of your system. Let's hear it. Love it. There is nothing in the world you can't do with a 2T2, a chalk, and a 10K. Love it, love it. So they came back to me the next day with sheets of great ideas on how to accelerate change and risk that we could take. And these are your junior NCOs. And it strikes me, especially as we're having our squadron commander course at Scott right now, it strikes me that we've got to demo real acceleration, real innovation, and real risk-taking. I don't mean reckless. I don't mean take risks that you don't know you're taking. I was a young co-pilot, and I had an aircraft commander who said, Minihan, you need to know the rules to break the rules. What was he really telling me? You got to understand the risk with your decisions. You got to mitigate the risk of your decisions. And you've got to own that risk. It's not fair to go back after something goes wrong and say, I didn't know. So this is a tasker to these lieutenants in this CGO mafia out here. Your next guard mount, your next roll call, your next shift change, what's the discussion going to be on accelerate change, take risk? So I can adjust my TTPs. I can extract full value out of things that already exist. A great example for Air Mobility Command is our partnership with AFSOC. And here's an operational example. September 11th, 2001. It was an extremely special qual to use NVGs in the slick C-130 community. And what was the qualification on September 12th? Here you go, turn them on. Good luck. Little more structure to it than that. All right, but what are the things now that are the NVG equivalent for the next fight that I can do now so that on the day after, I'm not putting our people, we are not putting our people, soldier, sailor, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, in a position where they got to learn it while they're fighting. Those things are the things we need to be charged up to do now. So what's it like in your world, in my world, as commanders and professionals that we can buy down the risk of when we need it by training to it right now. And then third is build the force of the future with my lead MAGCOM hat role. Some of you guys might have heard the Secretary's NGAS, Next Generation Air Refueling Systems. And so that's with my lead MAGCOM hat on. Now I'm trying to drive technologies and acquisitions in the future that are game changers. Slide. Examples. If you're in the Army or the Navy, I learned a lot from you in your services. I work for great leaders like Vince Brooks, Abrams, Sharp, Bell, Harris, Davidson, Aquilino, and I learned this rehearsal orientation, which is a wonderful way to think about the task at hand. When I do rehearsals and not exercises, I don't white card. When I do rehearsals and not exercises, I don't set conditions so it's overly easy. And when I do rehearsals, I put commanders on a chart that's laid out on a floor. I make them stand on their place that they're going to occupy and tell me what they're going to do. Tomorrow, no white card. Sir, on order, I will execute the following maneuver with the following authorities to achieve these priorities and this outcome. I will distribute my forces in the following way. And you can't hide in a rehearsal. You can't hide behind your plan for next year, 5 years, 10 years. You got to snuggle up to the realities of what you got now. And I'm here to tell you the rehearsals are a wonderful way to do business. Staff-to-staff talks. Some of you have been the recipient of those. We've gone out to PACAF, PACOM, ACC, AFMC, AFSOC, Global Strike. And in each of those locations, with every partner possible that we could work with. You cannot have integration on the battlefield operationally unless you do integrated planning in advance. And this integration is incredibly key. So I'll let you take a look at this slide. I'm not going to go through each one of them. Probably saw the 24 ship out of Charleston got a lot of play in the press as they did a MAX launch in January. And 2 days ago, we did one at McConnell that did 2 long endurance missions, which are greater than 24 hours, had 21 KC-46 and KC-135 get up in the air. And all these things here have a direct tie back to those 4 gaps. Slide. I don't care how scary it is. I do not care. Doolittle didn't care. LeMay didn't care. Spruance didn't care. Aker didn't care. And I realize there's a lot of challenge here. And if the challenge from the NDS were in a different part of the globe, it's still going to look like that. I don't care. Go through your cycle of grief on this. Run around the cycle till you get to acceptance. And then start working on your version of the gaps. The intent here is to be so ready, regardless of what flags on the back of those things or on the fin flash of those things, that they don't ever want to take us on. There is nothing inevitable about conflict. But there is an inevitability that exists if you're not ready, that will result in horrific challenges to America's blood and treasure. Repeat, be so ready that they don't want to take us on. Slide. Go ahead. Again. Anybody want to contest this? The voiceover here is important. Joint Force is not ready, integrated, and agile as they think they are. That's not a critique, but it is a call to action. And if we can get after that readiness, that integration, and that agility, then we automatically solve the bottom one. So the voiceover as we think they are matters on the top. And on the bottom, it's also important to note that I think I'm on glide slope for that. And the shot clock in my office says 147 days. No kidding. How do I know? Well, I've been the recipient of the deep planning in AMC and that staff to staff that I talked about. And I'm incredibly confident that the team is focused on getting after the right things. Readiness, integration, and agility. I had anybody from Ramstein here? Yeah. I'm still full from the schnitzel, I'm just telling you. That's why God put Velcro on these flight suits. You know, I had a chance to meet the mobility airmen there. They weren't all wearing AMC patches. So there's a CRG there that wears a USAFE patch. There's an airlift wing there that wears a USAFE patch, and then I've got a wing with some transients there that are obviously wearing the AMC patches. All right, that's the team. No pressure, but that's the team that did the retrograde out of Afghanistan. That's the team that did the evac out of Afghanistan. That's the team that's running support to Ukraine ops. And then that's the team that's right now doing all that, plus earthquake relief. And when you look into their eyes, there is no doubt in my mind that I'm turning that all to positives by August. They get it, they understand, and they even understand everything I just said, which is particular to that geography, and they understand their role on the other side of the planet. So I'm confident in these two things. Slide. Roll call leading up into a slide that's in 2 from now. The capacity to cause death. Lethality matters. It's the Air Force. Slide. Our capabilities are meaningless unless we can put them in a position to achieve advantage and lethal effects. Nobody's going to care if we lose what the excuse is that we couldn't do that. Going back to that slime chart. Nobody cares. Can we put our capabilities in a position of advantage to achieve lethal effects? Slide. The manifesto. Airmen are the magic. And if I were to have my hat on from my last job, the Joint Force is the magic. Lethality matters most. There is a point to this. And your value to lethality is not determined by your proximity to where it happens. That whether you fly, fix, or support, that everybody's got a role in making that come true. The premise here is that my command is the Joint Force Maneuver. And I'm not saying that from a position of arrogance. I'm saying that in understanding the geography that matters. Everybody talks about the tyranny of distance. Yawn. It's the tyranny of water. There's tyranny of distance On the other side, too, you just have an 8,000-foot NATO runway. Seems like every 100 miles. There are other modes of transportation that aren't associated with my command, but we work in strong partnership with. But the speed at which this will go down, the maneuver that's required to put those capabilities in positions of advantage, is going to require a whole lot of air. And the call here is that we invest our American tenacity now. That's not saying we do it alone. It's not saying we do it alone as an Air Force, that this is about the joint team. And it's not saying we do it alone as Americans, that this is about partners and allies. This is about a rules-based order that benefits all, and not just one country. The other option is incredibly clear with the world news that's going on. And I don't think any of us want to be a part of society and societies that look like that. So invest our tenacity and win now. Slide. Build it all up, please. Somebody time this. This might take 48 seconds. So, gave you a little bit of a harbinger on this earlier. That's about the fanciest word I know, by the way. Personal and professional challenge. Not in accusatory fashion. Simply the same challenge that I challenged myself with. What have you done? What has your unit done to accelerate and change? Name one thing. And if you can't, and you're waiting for somebody with gray hair or no hair, get after it. It's an incredibly powerful document, that Accelerate, Change, or Lose. Your Chief of Staff of the Air Force has told you to take risk. Action orders that support removing the barriers to achieving the things that we need to do. I'm certain my orders are going to come up in the Q&A. And I think I was pretty clear to my force as well. I got you. I got you. I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to seriously injure anybody. And I don't want a plane that can't be used again. I think those are reasonable guardrails. Let's be so ready they don't want to take us on. And let's take it personally. At the Q&A I had at Ramstein, the orders came up, and they said, hey, what would you recommend? I said, I'd recommend you don't take your feedback from social media or the media on these, and sit down with a supervisor and personalize what the action items mean to you. Your shift, your flight, your unit, you personally, mind, body, craft, all the stuff. Slide. All right. I'm recruiting, man. Don't tell your bosses. No, you can tell them. If you want to chip in with the team down here, send me a note. You come TDY, we'll virtually connect you in. We'll figure it out. You want insights into what we're thinking? Bring it. You got the clearances? You'll have full access. You want what we're thinking? We'll be open. The point here is you're going to see that the challenge I just offered you, both personally and professionally, is a challenge we take incredible pride in across the river. All right? And this is about working together in that integration. We are wide open to anybody that thinks that they got a way that can get after that readiness, integration, and agility. You will be valued with your opinion, and I promise you'll see that there's a whole lot of push-ups that have been done and that we're getting after it to get after that August timeline. All right, we're at the Q&A part. This is like the part that makes my PA guys nervous because I'm free-flowing. So I'm going to end where I started as a segue into the Q&A. I'm gonna end with a thank you to you all, okay? Thank you for what you do, all right? There are enormous examples out on the other side of the globe in Europe right now of what happens when there's not people like you in the force, okay? I have full faith and confidence in you and your abilities and your leadership and your insights to get after what we need to get after. There is no doubt that we're going to win on your shoulders, and I could not be more personally or professionally rewarded than to fly your wing. So thank you very much for what you do. Q&A.
Okay, sir, while we wait for the questions to come in, since you brought it up, your memo in January was the first of 8 monthly directives. Can you give us a sense of the other 7 and your overall objective for these orders?
Absolutely. I think the objective was pretty clear. The objective from the orders was to be ready now. You know, if there's one thing to take away from the orders, it's a sense of urgency and a bias towards action. And so, you know, in addition to explaining, I think what commanders need to do. First of all, I am a commander, and I give orders. I've heard it said, you know, that, you know, orders only happen in the movies. Not if you've worked for me, and some of you probably have some personal experience on that. You know, I'm order-centric when it comes to the way I command, and I have been in all my commands. So I wanted to be clear on the orders. I wanted to speak to the entire echelon directly, and I wanted to make sure that the urgency and the action was needed there, and then be very clear on the risks that I was willing to take on getting after that. This is the hardest part. This risk discussion requires incredible reflection by you all. As you talk about, you know, if you answer my plea here for the personal and professional plea, you have to sit down with your teams and have a talk about risk. And if you're in the Navy and you're looking, and if you go to my orders, if you're in the Navy and you look at my risk statement, what are you going to see a strong reflection of? This is a test. Nimitz. There you go. You're going to see the strong reflection of Nimitz as Nimitz took on this challenge during his fight there. If there's one book to read that gets after this, it's called The Pacific Crucible by Ian Toll. It's a wonderful book. There's a trilogy. They're all really good. And I don't read books anymore. I listen to them on like 2.0 speed. It's awesome. So Nimitz talks about risk, and I'm gonna very roughly paraphrase it, but he says basically, if you can inflict damage on the enemy that's greater than the damage they could cause you, if it doesn't go right, then feel free to close on the enemy and kill. And so that's where I got that risk statement. If the training event you are attaining gets us better readiness to be able to be ready, integrate, agile, fight and win inside the first island chain, then go for it. Don't kill anybody. There may be a point where that gets adjusted. Not the kill anybody part, but the risk statement. So that's what the order is intended to do. There's been one order since, and there will be another order going out the day I shave this mustache off. April 1st. The April order's out there, okay? And the April order is adding on more of the OT&E things, organize, train, equip things, and will be very prescriptive and more aggressive than any of the orders that we've issued so far that get after the things we need to do to win. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next question. What is the best way to translate this message mentally to mentally prepare the general population for what may come? Yeah,
great question. You know, I wish that the new guys would get a manual on how to deal with old guys like me. But it's on us to adjust. First of all, as I do my travel, and I'll even take feedback from you all, my feeling is the urgency and the action of the orders has resonated well with the entire population. Certainly it had a digital aspect to it, as it was not intended for the open audience, and it got out. But there was a digital aspect to that. What I'll say is my desire, though, when you get issued an order, I get issued orders all the time. Okay, and the one thing I don't do is just read them and then put them on the side of the table and execute by myself. All right. And all of you have received orders before that require a commander, a supervisor, to sit down with those that they are in charge of and walk through what it means for them. Part of an order is complying with the order, and we do that collectively. We don't do that individually. So, I think regardless of the digital age airman, we never get away from the face-to-face supervisor and commander obligations that come with receiving an order, and our obligation to follow through on those orders. That's a good question.
Sir, this is along the lines of several questions. Can you elaborate on what drove your call for UAVs being transported on KC-135s?
Yeah. This gets after value that exists that perhaps we haven't taken full advantage of. So, what can a UAV do? Can it do surveillance for you? Can it drop a life raft? Can it land and hibernate and do something later kinetically? Can it hold a station and give off precision navigation and timing? Can it spoof? Can it decoy? Seems like there's a lot of low-cost options there to help me fight and win inside the first island chain. The other thing I'm trying to do there, and I'll be clear, let's get out of the status quo. Let's start thinking effects-based and not platform-based. I love you, man. That's what the Air Force was founded on. That's why we mutinied. We started talking about effects and not platforms. So if you think of a C-17, a C-130, a C-5 as only cargo carriers, then you are platform-centric, and the aperture is not open to the immense possibilities of effects-based thinking. If all you think is a KC-135, KC-10, KC-46, all they can do is pass gas, then we will have wonderful platform-based thinking that all they can do is extend the range of fighters when it comes to gas, or whoever else is the user. But if you can open up the aperture and the architecture of our thinking, then you can do things on those platforms. There's a lot of real estate on them. There's hard points on the wings. There's hatches that can be re-rolled. There's windows that can have suction cup thingies to put antennas in. And now I'm not just extending range, but I'm extending situational awareness. I'm extending survivability. I'm preserving command and control, navigation, maneuver under attack, tempo, all the things. Good question.
And sir, I'm getting the cut line that we don't have time for any more questions, but I'm going to sneak one in here. For 30 seconds, what's your best advice for new lieutenants?
Don't suck. I mean it. There is a picture I have underneath one of my tables in my office that has a This is the Irish part. My squadron patch on a whiteboard at Al Udeid. And under the whiteboard, on the whiteboard is written under that patch, commander's comments, don't suck. And so I don't mean that in an accusatory way. You know, we are professionals. We are professional warriors. We each have different roles, but we all contribute. If there's one wish with a magic wand I could cast, it's just do your job. Don't overthink this. You're well-trained, well-motivated, professional. Do your job. We'll win. So all that goes into that phrase. And that it actually wasn't me that wrote that. I inherited it from two commanders before me, and it was so powerful to our unit that we just simply said, man, don't suck. Here's commander guidance, don't suck. Be the professional you are. Take it serious. If you're an aviator going to a brief in the morning, we talk about admin. It's admin. It's the going in position. That you know the books, the rules, the commander's intent. That you know the mission, you know your people. You've trained them, you've guided them, you've motivated them. Unleash them. Unleash them. They're begging for it. And I can't think of two words that describe it better than that. And I'm a caveman, I get it. All right, now that's a little frosty for the end. Are we good? All right, have a great time. Thank you very much for having me.